Cesar Millan has become famous as the dog whisperer, the man who can tame the most untrainable dogs. But now he's being sued, accused of having a pit bull that bit humans and even killed Queen Latifah's dog.
For years, Cesar Millan was known as the man who could calm the world's most aggressive dogs. Millions watched him walk into chaotic homes, transform seemingly hopeless animals, and leave with grateful owners convinced they had witnessed a miracle. But recently, a very different story began spreading across the internet. Headlines claimed the famous dog whisperer had been sentenced to life and that his career was finally over. The rumor exploded across social media, leaving fans wondering if the television icon had really fallen from grace. The reality, however, is far more complicated than the headlines suggest. Cesar Millan was never sentenced to life in prison. In fact, he has never received a criminal sentence at all. Yet behind those viral claims lies a fascinating story filled with lawsuits, controversy, personal tragedy, and years of criticism that nearly destroyed everything he spent decades building. His journey from an undocumented immigrant to one of the world's most recognizable animal trainers is inspiring, but it is also filled with setbacks that many viewers never knew existed. Long before television cameras followed his every move, Cesar grew up in rural Mexico. Surrounded by farm animals from an early age, he developed an unusual fascination with dogs. While other children spent their afternoons playing games, Cesar preferred quietly observing how animals communicated with one another. He noticed subtle movements, body language, and behaviors that most people completely ignored. The neighborhood children even gave him a nickname that roughly translated to the dog boy. Rather than feeling embarrassed, he proudly accepted it because he already believed his future would revolve around animals. As a teenager, he became captivated by television shows featuring heroic dogs. Watching those programs convinced him that one day he would travel to America and become the greatest dog trainer in the world. It sounded impossible, especially considering his family's modest circumstances. But the dream never left him. In the early 1990s, Cesar made one of the biggest decisions of his life. Carrying little money and speaking almost no English, he crossed into the United States hoping to create opportunities that simply didn't exist back home. The beginning was anything but glamorous. He struggled to survive, worked low-paying jobs, and accepted whatever employment he could find. One of his earliest positions involved cleaning dog kennels. Although the work was exhausting, he viewed it as another chance to learn. Every day he watched different breeds interact with their owners, studying their behavior more carefully than anyone around him realized. Eventually, he moved to Los Angeles, where new opportunities began appearing. While washing cars to pay his bills, Cesar also started grooming and walking dogs for wealthy clients. Many of these pets had serious behavioral problems. Some barked uncontrollably, others attacked strangers, and several had already been rejected by traditional trainers. Instead of avoiding these difficult animals, Cesar welcomed them. His confidence quickly earned him a reputation throughout affluent neighborhoods. Word spread that this quiet Mexican immigrant possessed an extraordinary ability to calm dogs that nobody else could handle. Soon celebrities began hearing about him as well. One meeting would completely change his future. Actor Jada Pinkett Smith became fascinated after watching Cesar work with her own dogs. She recognized that his understanding of animal behavior was exceptional, but she also noticed a major obstacle. His limited English prevented him from explaining his techniques clearly and expanding his business. Determined to help, she arranged English lessons that allowed him to communicate with confidence. That investment opened doors that otherwise might never have existed. As his language skills improved, so did his career. Hollywood stars began trusting him with their pets, and his client list steadily grew. What started as private training sessions eventually became something much larger. Producers realized his calm personality and dramatic dog transformations could make compelling television. In 2004, that idea became reality when Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan premiered. The show became an international sensation. Viewers loved watching frightened owners regain control of their homes while aggressive dogs transformed before their eyes. Cesar introduced millions of people to concepts like calm energy, structured exercise, and consistent leadership. Instead of relying primarily on treats or repeated commands, he emphasized understanding canine psychology. His simple philosophy reached audiences around the globe. Books became bestsellers. Live tours sold out. Major companies partnered with him to create pet products. Magazine covers featured his success story, celebrating the immigrant who built a worldwide brand through determination and passion. To countless dog owners, Cesar Millan became the ultimate authority. But enormous popularity often attracts equally enormous criticism. As his television audience continued growing, many professional animal behaviorists began questioning what they were seeing on screen. Veterinary experts argued that several of Cesar's methods relied too heavily on outdated theories about dominance. They believed domestic dogs shouldn't be treated like wolves competing for leadership inside a pack. Instead, they promoted newer approaches focused primarily on positive reinforcement and reward-based training. The disagreement quickly became one of the biggest debates in the pet world. Supporters insisted Cesar saved animals that otherwise faced euthanasia because of dangerous behavior. Critics argued some techniques looked intimidating and could create fear instead of genuine behavioral improvement. Both sides passionately defended their positions. The controversy only intensified as more professionals publicly challenged his methods. Organizations dedicated to animal welfare expressed concern that inexperienced viewers might imitate what they watched on television without understanding the risks. They warned that physical corrections shown on camera could be dangerous when attempted by untrained pet owners dealing with aggressive dogs. Cesar refused to back down. He maintained that the dogs appearing on his programs weren't ordinary family pets with minor obedience problems. Many had already bitten people or displayed extremely dangerous behavior. According to him, severe situations required different solutions than basic puppy training. For years, the debate remained mostly theoretical. Then everything changed. In 2016, one training session captured on television triggered an investigation that threatened to become the biggest scandal of Cesar Millan's career. A rehabilitation exercise involving a dog with a history of attacking livestock suddenly went horribly wrong when the animal escaped control and injured a pig during filming. Within hours, the footage spread across the internet. Public outrage exploded. Animal welfare advocates demanded accountability. Authorities launched an official investigation. For the first time, it seemed possible that the dog whisperer himself might face serious legal consequences. But that was only the beginning. While investigators examined the incident, an even darker series of personal struggles and future lawsuits would soon push Cesar closer to losing everything he had spent decades building. The investigation quickly became headline news. Television reports, online articles, and social media posts all painted a dramatic picture, leading many people to believe Cesar Millan's career was finished. For weeks, the story dominated conversations among dog owners and critics alike. Many assumed criminal charges were inevitable. But as investigators carefully reviewed the unedited footage and interviewed everyone involved, the picture became much less sensational than the internet had suggested. Officials determined that the incident had been an accident during a controlled training exercise rather than an intentional act of cruelty. The injured pig received immediate veterinary treatment, recovered, and investigators ultimately decided there was insufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges. The case was officially closed, and Cesar walked away without facing prosecution. Legally, it was a victory. Publicly, however, the damage had already been done. The investigation reinforced the growing perception that controversy followed Cesar wherever he went. Critics who had questioned his techniques for years now felt their concerns had been validated, while supporters argued that one unfortunate accident shouldn't erase decades of successful rehabilitation work. The divide between both camps became even deeper. Yet while the public focused on courtroom headlines and television debates, Cesar was fighting an entirely different battle behind closed doors. Several years before the investigation, his personal life had already begun falling apart. One of the most devastating moments came with the death of Daddy, the famous pit bull that had become almost as recognizable as Cesar himself. Daddy wasn't simply another dog featured on television. He served as the calm leader of Cesar's training pack and played a key role in helping rehabilitate countless aggressive animals. Losing him was like losing a trusted partner who had stood beside him through the most successful years of his career. Still grieving that loss, Cesar faced another painful blow when his marriage ended after many years together. The divorce became emotionally and financially exhausting. At the same time, he discovered that complicated business agreements made years earlier meant he didn't fully control some of the rights connected to the hugely successful Dog Whisperer brand. The realization came as a devastating shock. After helping create one of television's biggest pet franchises, he suddenly found himself dealing with legal and financial complications that threatened everything he had built. The combination proved overwhelming. Years later, Cesar openly admitted that he entered one of the darkest periods of his life. Depression consumed him, and he struggled to see a way forward. He has spoken publicly about surviving a suicide attempt during that difficult time, describing it as the lowest point he had ever experienced. For someone known around the world for projecting confidence and calmness, the contrast was heartbreaking. Eventually, with professional help and support from those close to him, Cesar slowly rebuilt his life. He focused on his health, reconnected with his children, and returned to the work that had always given him purpose. Recovery didn't happen overnight, but over time he found stability again. Unfortunately, the legal challenges weren't over. A new controversy emerged involving another pit bull named Junior, who had become Daddy's successor and frequently appeared alongside Cesar in public demonstrations and television appearances. According to a civil lawsuit, a young gymnast alleged that Junior attacked her while she was visiting property connected to Cesar's business. The lawsuit claimed the injuries permanently affected her athletic future and argued that the dog had displayed aggressive behavior before the incident. The filing included another explosive allegation. It claimed Junior had previously killed a dog belonging to actress Queen Latifah and suggested that the truth had been concealed to protect Cesar's reputation. Those accusations spread rapidly across entertainment news, creating another wave of damaging publicity. Cesar and his legal team strongly denied the allegations, maintaining that many of the claims were inaccurate and exaggerated. Rather than allowing the dispute to continue through a lengthy public trial, the case was eventually resolved through a private settlement. As with most settlements, the agreement ended the lawsuit without establishing criminal guilt. But it wasn't the only lawsuit connected to his business. Years earlier, another case involved a woman who claimed she suffered severe injuries after being attacked by a dog that had previously been trained at Cesar's facility. In another dispute, questions arose after a dog was injured during a treadmill exercise at the training center. Each lawsuit added another chapter to an already controversial reputation. Although the cases differed significantly, they shared one important detail that many viral headlines ignored. They were civil lawsuits. Civil cases determine financial responsibility between private parties. They are not criminal prosecutions, and they do not result in prison sentences. Yet online rumors repeatedly blurred that distinction, causing millions of people to mistakenly believe Cesar had been convicted of serious crimes. That misunderstanding eventually gave birth to one of the internet's biggest myths. The phrase "sentenced to life" spread across countless videos and posts, despite there being no courtroom where such a sentence had ever been handed down. In reality, the only life sentence Cesar Millan appears to have accepted is one he chose for himself: a lifelong commitment to working with dogs. Today, much of his time is spent at his large dog psychology center in California, where difficult cases continue arriving from owners who feel they have exhausted every other option. Many of these animals have histories of aggression, abandonment, or behavioral issues that make adoption nearly impossible. The facility operates under strict routines designed to reduce conflict while helping dogs become calmer and more manageable. Maintaining such an operation isn't easy. Running a center filled with powerful, unpredictable animals requires experienced staff, specialized equipment, constant veterinary support, and extensive safety procedures. The financial costs alone are enormous, while the legal responsibilities remain equally demanding. Over the years, Cesar has also adapted aspects of his approach. While structure, exercise, and boundaries remain central to his philosophy, he has increasingly incorporated modern reward-based techniques alongside the methods that originally made him famous. His newer projects place greater emphasis on educating owners about their own behavior, arguing that dogs often mirror the emotional state of the humans handling them. Even after decades in the spotlight, debate surrounding Cesar Millan refuses to disappear. To millions of loyal fans, he remains the man who gave countless dogs a second chance when everyone else had given up. They credit him with helping families keep beloved pets that otherwise might have been surrendered or euthanized. To many veterinary behaviorists and animal science experts, however, his legacy remains controversial. They argue that his early television techniques popularized methods that modern research no longer recommends and believe positive reinforcement should remain the foundation of dog training. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between those two perspectives. Few people can deny the enormous influence Cesar had on public interest in canine behavior. Before his television success, dog psychology rarely attracted mainstream attention. His programs introduced millions of viewers to the idea that understanding an animal's mindset could be just as important as teaching commands. At the same time, his success sparked important conversations about animal welfare, training ethics, and the responsibility that comes with demonstrating powerful techniques to a global audience. So, was Cesar Millan ever sentenced to life? No. The viral headline simply doesn't match reality. He was never convicted of a crime that resulted in a prison sentence. Instead, his career has been shaped by lawsuits, investigations, personal hardships, fierce criticism, and remarkable resilience. His story isn't one of a celebrity disappearing behind prison bars. It's the story of a man who built an empire from almost nothing, survived devastating personal setbacks, endured years of public scrutiny, and continues to divide opinion to this day. Whether history ultimately remembers Cesar Millan as a revolutionary who transformed dog rehabilitation or as a controversial figure whose methods belong to another era will remain a subject of debate for years to come. But one thing is certain: the truth is far more complex and far more fascinating than the viral rumors that first captured the internet's attention.